When I found out that I could interview you, that was the biggest thing for me. I mean, the daughter from a guy who really changed my life, and he really did. He actually is the reason that I'm sitting here right now. It really is, because if I wouldn't have gone into martial arts, then I wouldn't have been here.
Yeah.
So all the way coming from Holland, and a lot of guys my age, that are about 45. I'm 48. You see how I put it down? They have the same answer. I saw an interview one time with all these guys, and like 85, 90% says, "Who was your inspiration? Why did you start fighting?" It's always Bruce Lee. Jet fighter pilots, it's Top Gun, the movie. Real fighting, it's your dad. So very nice meeting you.
Very nice to meet you too.
Good. Well, what is it like to be the daughter from this famous guy? What is the most common question you get?
I guess the most common question I get is probably, what are my memories of him? And yeah, that would probably be the most common one.
No crazy fans ever proposing? Oh.
Well, I get some proposals on Facebook, and Twitter occasionally, but you know, for the most part, everyone that I meet is just super, you know, warm, energetic, enthusiastic. You know, there are a few.
Everybody loves them.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I always say when one of my daughters cries or they're annoying, I always tell the people, oh, that she has that from her mother. You know, what is something that your mother tells you that you have from your father?
I think I have a certain amount of push. I just keep sort of pushing forward, and I just want to keep, you know, taking on more things and going in this direction, which, you know, I don't do it exactly as energetically as he did. But I've had more years to accomplish things. So, but yeah, I would say that there's that, and you know, a certain amount of some physical features. You know, both my brother and I, and my father, as we got older and into our 20s, you know, we sort of had like our faces lengthened out a little bit and stuff like that. And
you guys were all training also, right? I mean, I've seen pictures with you standing in a splits almost.
Yes. I did train for many years. It's funny, I didn't train much as a child after my father passed away. When my father was alive, I mean, it was martial arts 24/7 in our household. Yeah. And he was teaching it to us kids, and he was doing it, and he was training people in our backyard all day long and working on the films, and my mom trained with him too, so it was like that. But after he passed away, I think it was just a little hard to sort of...
Yeah, because it identifies, it's, you know, it's him, so you want to steer away from it.
Exactly. But the nice thing is, you know, it was a way as we got older to get to know him again, to study his art of Jeet Kune Do, to understand what he loved so much about it, and to just, you know, practice that discipline. And so
all the notes, I just saw a notebook with the training regimen, 500 punches, 500 finger punches. I mean, it was crazy what he was doing, you know, and if you find all those notes, you go like, hey, that's kind of cool, maybe I should start doing that.
Yeah.
So you're connecting.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, my father always said that he learned so much just about life and about himself through the practice of martial arts, and it's sort of like, well, I want to understand what that is, you know. Yep. So it was a really good lit a fire under me to really get into it.
Nice. Yeah. But with this birthday coming up on the 27th, why do you think that Bruce Lee is such a hero in the mixed martial arts world? I mean, in the boxing, you know, everybody loves Bruce Lee, but especially in mixed martial arts, because everybody always said, you know, he's way ahead of his time. What do you think?
You know, I think that there is a huge synergy and connection between my dad and mixed martial arts, because my father, as you probably know, started traditional Wing Chun, and that's what he studied with Yip Man in Hong Kong, and he was very much into that traditional practice. And then I'm sure you know about the fight in 1965.
Yep.
He was challenged for teaching Chinese Kung Fu to non-Chinese. And he was challenged by the Chinese community, and they had this match, and he won. But afterwards, he felt he'd really been let down by the sort of rigid structure of his traditional art, you know, in a real fight where there were no rules. And so he really just threw that out and wanted to express himself as a fighter in the totality, whether it was on the ground, whether it was standing, you know, and he realized that in order to be, you know, to use a phrase, the ultimate fighter, you really had to
know it all.
To know it all, to have it all. And so he really, you know, philosophically and in practice had that as his mindset. And even though Jeet Kune Do, his art isn't exactly the same as MMA. It sort of comes philosophically from a slightly different base of simplicity. It is, however, you know, there are a lot of connection points.
Yeah, plus he did also boxing, Western boxing. He put everything together. I have the book, Tower of Jeet Kune Do.
Yes, yes, yes.
And all those pictures that I see, I mean, throws, you got leg locks, you got arm bars, you got chokes. I mean, everything is in there for modern mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
How close do you feel that modern mixed martial arts is to your father's vision of the martial arts?
You know, I think that there are a lot of similarities. My father was definitely more into this idea of totally no rules,
Yep.
you know, so eye gouging and, you know, groin kicks and all that
good
kind of good
stuff.
stuff. The good stuff, that's right. And so, you know, MMA is a sport, but, you know, it's as far as you can go without going all the way, really. And I think he would have been a huge fan of the sport. I think he would have loved, you know, that contest to see what works, what doesn't work, that kind of thing, and to be able to adjust and change with it. I think there are a lot of similarities, but I think that, you know, like I was saying, Jeet Kune Do is sort of about, he really studied a lot of biomechanics and physics and that sort of thing, and looked at the efficiency of movement separate from naming it. You know, this is a Muay Thai, you know, kick, and this is a, you know, Jiu-Jitsu hold, or, you know, he really just wanted to be free to express his body in the efficiency of movement. You know, Jeet Kune Do, the tenets are simplicity, directness, and freedom. Freedom from style. So.
Do you think if he would have been alive that he would be involved in mixed martial arts? He would maybe be a coach? Have
for
some
sure.
fighters underneath?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah?
Oh, for sure.
What kind of fighter would you think that's fighting right now? I think right away of somebody we just talked about here. Would he really like? What kind of style?
Oh my gosh. Gosh, you know, I'm not as knowledgeable of all the fighters and their strengths and weaknesses. I know, you know, people that I like and that sort of thing. And I'm definitely way more familiar with sort of the bigger names.
Well,
you
you're
know.
just with Ed Swartz, Anderson Silva. That's the first one that comes to mind with me.
Yes,
Because he's always doing something new, you
Yes.
know, fluid. You know, that's the guy for him. Very cool. What do you think is his importance outside martial arts?
Gosh, I think outside of martial arts, first of all, my father has influenced and inspired a lot of people in all walks of life.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that comes from the way he lived his life and also his philosophies and his ideas. You know, he really believed, I believe the reason we still talk about him today is because of all of his beliefs and the practice of self-actualization. You know, he wanted to be the best him that he could be, and he was always putting everything into action and changing and working, and he worked really, really hard. I think a lot of people don't realize how hard he worked at everything. And he had this amazing charisma, this amazing grace, and he was, you know, sort of like this warrior poet, you know? He had all these amazing thoughts that he was passing on, and I think people saw him as the atypical hero in a way, and that really resonated with them. It was sort of like, you know, look at this guy and look at all the things he can do. Maybe I can do that too.
Yeah, and especially because his attitude towards other people. He was such a good guy. Like you said, a lot of charisma. Everybody liked him. You know, in school, if tough guys see how effective that is, you know, a tough guy who can fight, nobody likes those guys.
Yeah.
But if you're a good guy and you can fight on top of it, hey.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that my mom always says, and one of the things that I think it's important for people to know, is that my dad was extremely caring person. He really wanted to help people.
Yep.
And the other thing I think that you know, being involved in the martial arts world, at least on the periphery, for me, that one of the things I really want to pass on is that, you know, you see in the martial arts world a lot of like finger pointing and no, I do it better, no, I do it better, no, you're doing it wrong, no, I'm doing it right. And he didn't do that.
Yep.
He just did what he did, and he tried to share his thoughts and ideas with people, help them out, make them better if he could, and focused on himself. And I think it's a great lesson.
You know, just the fact that Yip Man, apparently he was only training like 5 students in private, and he had a huge gym. He wouldn't do that to anybody. So I think that he saw right away a lot of quality there. And a good guy, that's the thing always in fighting.
Yes.
When you lost your father, you were 4 years old. What are your favorite memories from Bruce Lee as a father?
You know, I was 4, as you say, and so, you know, my memories are really more like glimpses. But I'll tell you the interesting thing for me, what I remember most about him is the feeling of him.
Yep.
I really have this sense of this huge energy, and I remember the playfulness and also the just feeling loved and safe and super engaged. You know, the authenticity of that sort of exchange between us is what I really retain the feeling of, you know. I mean, in terms of my visual memory, I remember going to visit him on the sets, playing around. You know, when they filmed back in those days, they didn't use sound, so us kids could be running around like banshees
really?
in the background.
Did it sound later?
They didn't sound later, yeah,
That's
they put it all
crazy.
in later, yeah.
Wow.
So,
And what are your favorite memories of Bruce Lee as the man, the legend?
gosh, you know, it's funny, but I don't have that many memories of him as this star.
But looking back on his life, what you say,
Yeah.
I really like what he did there.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, all of this, I just love the amount of impact that he's had on so many individual people. And I think, you know, part of his philosophy was to focus on the individual rather than on an organization or a style. And I think that that has been a message that people can really relate to in terms of bettering the self. You know, what do I love? I mean, he's just amazing to watch in his movies.
Yep.
There's just something, I mean, I can ask you, what is
Yeah.
it that you saw off
Yeah, you
of
pulled
the...
right away. It's
Okay.
You want to be that person.
Yeah.
You see that. I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and it changed. I was bullied as a kid. I had a horrible skin disease, so they were always messing with me. So when I saw that movie, I go, man, if I'm like him, I think my problems are going to be solved.
Yeah, I think that the thing is that when you see him on screen, that authentic, you can see it from deep inside of himself. There's something behind the eyes. There's a depth and an intensity there, and it just comes through. It's undeniable.
Yep. Did he knit? Did he have 2 turtles named Baz and Hendrik or something?
He did not knit.
He did not knit. That would have been funny.
Yeah, right. Yes, in fact, this sweater I'm wearing.
Yeah.
No, he actually, one thing, he was not handy at all. I mean, he could barely change a light bulb. So,
That's hilarious.
so that's one thing. He loved animals. We always had pets.
Okay.
Dogs, cats, turtles.
Turtles. Oh,
Yes,
see?
we
I
did
was
have
close.
some
I
turtles.
learned it.
He was, as I said, very caring. He would go out of his way to help the people who were his friends, you know, take them shopping. He was like, I remember my Sifu in Jeet Kune Do was Ted Wong. And I remember Ted telling me one time, he was saying, my dad came up to me and he was like, Ted, you're never going to get a girlfriend looking like this. He's like, come on, let's go shopping, you know,
yeah.
and like took
that's
him
nice.
shopping and got him, and he's was married for many, many years after that.
There you
But-
go. You set it up. It was the
Secrets
first.
to
He should have
success.
had a date website now. So would have still been alive. What is the Bruce Lee Foundation, and what is its goal for the people at home?
Yeah. So the Bruce Lee Foundation is a 501c3 public charity. And our goal is to preserve and perpetuate my father's legacy, primarily through educational means. We have a scholarship fund, so you know people can go online and apply for a scholarship for college and vocational school. And you know, I go and I give talks at schools and things like that. Our main long-term goal is to build the Bruce Lee Action Museum.
Yeah,
in
the
this-
Blam. Great name. That's him. Blam.
Exactly. In Seattle, Washington.
Oh, you want to? Oh, Seattle, because that was my question. Where are you going to do it? San Francisco? It's going to be Seattle. You know.
Right.
Are there be more maybe that you say? Because of course something authentic you can't duplicate. But
Right.
if there's other things, you know, maybe you can do a museum with really good copies. You know? Because I think every state would love to
Yeah.
have a Bruce Lee museum.
Well, I'll tell you, interestingly, you know, we are doing small. So right now, there's an exhibit up for the next 5 years in Hong Kong at the Hong Kong Heritage Museum on my father. We're talking to the Chinese American Museum here in Los Angeles about doing an exhibit there. We're talking to the Wing Luk Museum in Seattle about doing an exhibit there, and those are all smaller. The Bruce Lee Action Museum will be a much larger experience. But the reason we chose Seattle is because, you know, that's where my father's buried.
Yep.
And a lot of people travel there already to visit the gravesite. And we
Yep.
just thought, you know, it's where he met my mom, where he went to the University of Washington. He had his first school there, you know. So it just felt like if people were already going there to visit the gravesite, it would be great to
It's
have a
easy
home.
for them. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
How close are you to fulfilling the whole museum?
Not very.
So still has some work to do.
We have some work to do, yes.
What can the fans do to help? Is there something they can do to
Yeah,
help?
that's a good question. You know, we're working on getting, so right now we have bruceleefoundation.org. We're working on getting the Bruce Lee Action Museum website up to be able to take in donations. We're looking actively, we have committees and people in Seattle helping us. You know, if people want to just check in at the website and see if there are any events or things that they can support that are going on, that would be great. You know, they can donate through purchasing merchandise and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But on a larger scale, you know, we're just identifying a location right now, and hopefully in the next couple years it'll be up.
Well, I think that's it. I think we had a great little chat.
Yes.
I thank you so much. This was very cool for me.
Yeah, it
and
was great for
very nice meeting you. And I'm a happy man. I was calling my friend on the way over, and he says, "Man, you sound so happy. Why are you happy?" I said, "I'm going to interview the daughter from Bruce Lee." He said, "You're kidding." So, great time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It was my pleasure as well.